Hello, my name is Racha Agrawal, and on behalf of COPSO, it's my pleasure to introduce this year's 3DRC Sustainability Grand Challenge winner. This year, the Grand Challenge asks for creative solutions with potential to transform the pursuit of sustainability within the global retail footwear and apparel sector by harnessing the power of digital product creation. Entries were judged in terms of their social, business, and technological impact. We are extremely pleased to announce that this year's winner is Unspun. With me today is Beth Aspinet, founder of Unspun. Beth, thank you so much for joining me, and a big congratulations to you and the Unspun team on winning the 3DRC Grand Challenge.
Thank you so much for this, and thank you so much for the award. This really means so much to our team because we are trying to change the industry with a tech aspect, and all of what the organizations here stand for is trying to change things for the better and in a smart way. So we really appreciate that. I think this really started with interest in fixing some problems that the industry had. We design and then have to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of one thing in order to profit from it. And we just saw a problem there where so much was being produced and so much not being appreciated or even bought at the end of the day, paired with like this kind of frustration that consumers had when they were shopping, where they didn't always find exactly what they wanted. And so it was a bit weird to be inundated with stuff, but then to walk out without what you wanted when there was excess. And so we wanted to figure out how we could match those one-to-one for everything that's produced has a home. And the only way that we saw that really made sense to do that was to make on demand, was to make right when someone purchased something. And that poses some challenges with current technology. You would have to wait for something to be produced. It would be much more expensive using the current methods for manufacturing, which is really cut and sew at the moment. And even so, you're still working with sizes. And so we saw this huge opportunity that if we're producing something for someone right when they purchase it, then we can make it exactly to them, to their shape and to their liking. So it became kind of this thing that we saw and that we couldn't unsee. Like once you kind of see this possibility, you get frustrated when it doesn't become the norm. And so after a while, you just say, well, heck, I'm just going to try it. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but the industry needs a change, and so we should try.
How has DPC impacted the company, and how have your customers sort of adapted to DPC? So kind of just if you can talk about the role of DPC that DPC plays in at Unspun.
Yeah, I love this question because we completely rely on it. But we would not be selling any product to any consumers without it. We have no inventory. So one of our taglines is, "We have nothing for you." So we really have nothing, but in theory, we have infinite number of products that someone could purchase, which just doesn't exist yet. You have to purchase it and then have it made. And so digital product creation is vital for this. It's not possible without it, especially because we are building exactly for that customer. We're building it customized to them.
I mean, this is such a unique and sort of innovative business model. Clearly, this is very sustainable, where you're creating something that's very custom for the customer. And there's, like you said, you have no inventory. What do you, in your opinion, what do you think it will take for the industry to sort of go towards a more sustainable business model?
To us, the biggest low hanging fruit, I guess you could say, is just not making inventory, the excess inventory. So there are a number of ways you can do this, and I think the fastest for a lot of brands now would be pre-order, and I think that could be a really interesting way to kind of ease into it. So yes, we think the first step is that, but we really see it as an overall, how do we create a regenerative industry? And that's a much longer term kind of question. And at that point, I don't think that it's necessary that we think only about custom fit. I think that's, we love the idea of inclusivity. We think sizes are silly. We think they're discriminatory. Like we want to get rid of those. Um, we don't see those necessarily as the way to becoming more sustainable in the long run, but we think, in the short run, it's a really good match for producing exactly what someone wants and what flatters them the most. And so that's what we're going after now. But the long term we see is how can you kind of have a closed system where you're not losing pieces of the system to the environment and polluting, and is there a way we can look at this holistically?
So kind of thinking about circularity on a much larger scale, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what are some of the metrics that you are using, not just to measure circularity, but really to measure sustainability at Unspun, and how are you leveraging these metrics to sort of advance your sustainability and your circularity initiatives?
So we really rely on two bigger topics for metrics. So we kind of look at CO2 emissions, and then we look at just physical waste in pounds, or whatever weight metric you want to look at. So in terms of CO2 emissions, right now the global carbon emissions for the planet from humans is about 36 gigatons per year. And yeah, it's a lot. And so we know that the industry is around 5 gigatons of that. It's plus or minus depending on who you talk to. And that's a big chunk of what humans are emitting. The more companies that we collaborate with, the more we can reduce the amount of inventory that's created, and the more we can reduce the carbon emissions. And what's the next step? And that is going to 3D weaving, where we can eliminate the cut waste from producing a garment. So that's another step that we look at, and that's when we look at waste, and the amount that we could have sent to landfill that we just didn't even use in the first place because we're starting from yarn and going straight into the final product. So by skipping that fabric stage, we'd have no cut waste. And then kind of the long term is going back to that concept of reusing yarn and to make it more circular. And that's where it really makes a big impact on the industry, because so much of the impact in clothing is on the front end of actually getting the raw materials and treating them and dyeing them, and actually spinning them. So all of that part, if you can avoid all of that, then you've gotten rid of a big fraction of the impact. So those two kind of metrics are what we focus on.
So, Beth, I'm wondering what's next for you and for Unspun?
If we had 50 machines in one place in the US, that would address 1% of the premium denim market. So we don't need that many to make a big impact. Just multiply that by 100 and you've suddenly addressed the entire premium denim market in the US. In the meantime, it's the sustainability option, and people are choosing us because they can get rid of inventory. It can be a great new thing for their customers, and for the customers to really to actually be catered to. It's about them. But in the long term, we're excited that it will be at that point about efficiency and cost. That it won't only be about the sustainability story at that point. It will also be, oh, this is even cheaper than offshoring this in Bangladesh or in Vietnam. Like this is actually going to be a cheaper option, and a more sustainable option.
But it was so good talking to you, and congratulations again on being the winner of the 3DRC Grand Challenge, and wish you and Unspun a lot of luck for the future, and look forward to speaking with you again sometime soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.